Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being with us. And General Petraeus, it's a pleasure to see you. I served in the CIA under your leadership. So I'm going to start my question with you, if I may. You had spoken in your opening testimony and then specifically answering Mr. Crawford's questions, some of the issues related to training, related to the bench that we're building out across intel agencies. And I have a kind of a couple elements of a question, right? So when building a bench, there's the ability to recruit people immediately, recruiting young people directly out of college, also recruiting people mid-career. And you spoke to the lengthy training at the front end. And I'm curious your thoughts on how we could get that balance correct to make sure that there are people who are building up their expertise within the agency. And certainly, Ms. Gordon, if you have comments on this, I'd love to hear it as well. But also, recruiting people who have an expertise and a skill set from outside agencies that can be brought forth. So that's the first element of my question, which ties into the second one related to training. You mentioned the 10 to 12 hour SDR. I know that when I was serving overseas, I barely found time to go to the dentist, let alone go back home to headquarters for training. The ops tempo is such, if you're on a 2 to 3 year tour, a week away is a week that you are not recruiting somebody, that you are not developing someone, that you are not out on the circuit doing all the things that you need to do. And so I'm curious if you have suggestions for, you talked about the money aspect, but how to bring that into a cultural piece where it has the same culture like we've seen in the military, where it's expected and part of the job. And I'll turn it over to you for initial comments.
Well, thanks. These are terrific questions. And I should note, just first of all, I have actually discussed these with Director Burns very recently. I was just out there 3 weeks ago and had a long conversation with him. I also met separately with his Chief Learning Officer. He has established that, and that's a very important element of this. And perhaps you can continue to sound the drum for this, given your own personal experience, which we all recognize and appreciate. And it was a privilege to be the director when you were one of the CIA's officers. I think, first of all, and Director Burns is trying to do this, expedite the approval of initial entry. As you know, it takes far too long to approve someone, and you have these brilliant people that graduate, and they're expected to sit for 12 to 18 months in the past.
Mine was 3.5 years.
I mean, this is just, a couple of times as director, I finally said, this person is, I get a graduate of Princeton, summa cum laude, speaks again, this language, served in the military. What more do you want? And so now he is working this. He's already driven it down, I believe, to below 8 months, maybe even 6 months. But it would be worth, I think, some oversight in asking him what it is that he could use. Mm-hmm. When it comes to building those within, this is very, very simple. It is for the Congress to approve a personnel account and authorize the resources for that. That is separate and above from the operational force, if you will, just in the way that the, say, U.S. Army, I think, literally has something like 70,000 or 80,000 people at any given time. I don't know what the Air Force had. It's a little bit smaller service. But again, we're talking tens of thousands of people who are authorized to be in school at any given time, plus those who actually run the schoolhouse who are in uniform as well. So that's about a personnel account. And again, I think the Chief Learning Officer, who I actually know pretty well, he was at some previous time together, I think can help you with this. The mid-career is crucial. I'm really excited that you mentioned this because the agency actually does have the ability to do this.